Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really startling question that came in from one of our listeners, a listener named Elton.
So Elton asks, I heard that if you add up all the small pieces of plastic in an American brain, you have enough to create a plastic spoon. Surely this can't be true. Can it? I mean, wow, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But is it? Let's find out. Okay, let's get right to it. I looked into the latest research, and the short answer, based on a huge new study, is yes. It's actually true.
Okay, so your next question is probably, how? How is that even possible? Well, believe it or not, it all boils down to some pretty simple and honestly pretty unsettling math.
So here's how researchers at the University of New Mexico broke it down. You start with the average weight of a human brain, which is about 1,400 grams. Now, in their 2024 samples, they discovered that about 0.5% of that brain tissue was made up of plastic. And when you run the numbers, 0.5% of 1,400 grams is 7 grams. And what weighs about 5 to 7 grams? Yep, a disposable plastic spoon. The math is surprisingly straightforward. But here's the thing. That whole spoon comparison, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. The total weight is one thing, but the story gets a lot more concerning when you look at where this plastic is ending up and just how quickly it's getting there.
Get this, the study found that our brain tissue has a way higher amount of plastic than other parts of our body. We're talking 10 to 20 times more than what they found in major organs like the liver or the kidneys. It seems like our brains are, well, a hotspot for this stuff.
So, why the brain, right? What makes it so special? Well, the leading theory is that the brain's high-fat content, what scientists call lipids, acts almost like a magnet for these tiny plastic particles. It just seems to pull them in and hold on tight. And if that isn't concerning enough, check out how fast this is all happening. Researchers compared the new samples from 2024 with older ones from just 8 years ago, in 2016. The result? A 50% increase in plastic concentration. This isn't some slow, decades-long problem. It's accelerating. And that's pretty scary when you think about it.
So what kind of plastic are we talking about here? Well, the main culprit they found is something called polyethylene. You might not know the name, but you definitely know the plastic. It's the stuff used to make plastic bags, water bottles, the everyday things we see all the time.
Okay, so all of this builds towards what is probably the most troubling part of the whole study, a potential connection to dementia.
And here's the finding that really makes you stop and think. Researchers found that brain tissue from people who had passed away with dementia, it had up to 10 times more plastic by weight compared to those without the disease. That's not a small difference. That's huge.
But, and this is a really important but, the scientists are very clear on this point. What they found is a correlation, not causation. And that's a huge difference. A correlation just means two things are happening at the same time. Causation means we have proof that one thing is actually causing the other.
So basically, it's a bit of a chicken or the egg situation. We just don't know which came first. Is the plastic contributing to the disease? Or is it possible that dementia itself damages the brain's ability to clean itself out, which then causes more plastic to get trapped? That's the big question they're working on now. Okay, so before we wrap up, I think it's really important we circle back to that plastic spoon idea. It's a really powerful image, but it can be a little misleading if you take it too literally. Just to be crystal clear, there is not a literal solid spoon sitting in anyone's brain. Of course not. That 7 grams of plastic is actually made up of billions, and I mean billions, of microscopic shards called nanoplastics. They're totally invisible, and they're spread all throughout the brain tissue. All right, so let's just pull all of this together. What are the big takeaways from this really groundbreaking and honestly pretty sobering research?
Okay, so number one, the total amount of plastic in an average brain can actually weigh as much as a plastic spoon, around 7 grams. Number two, this problem is getting worse fast. We're talking a 50% jump in just the last 8 years. And number three, there's this really strong connection with dementia, where brains with the disease have up to 10 times more plastic. We don't know if it's the cause, but that link is there and it's impossible to ignore.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. You know, the brain is supposed to be one of the most protected organs in our entire body. So if this much plastic is getting past all those natural defenses and building up in there, it really makes you wonder, what else are we not seeing? What's accumulating in the rest of our bodies, and what on earth could that mean for our health down the road?